about the measures of central tendency. In that case, what we are going to go ahead and do is within the measures of central tendency, we will study the measures of location and we will study the measures of variation. So, when I say location, what do I mean? By location, I actually mean that I want to go ahead and I want to talk about mean, median, and mode. And by variation, I mean that I want to talk about standard deviation and I want to talk about variance, right? I will also go ahead and take you through movements and curtices, and I will show you why that is also important. Okay. So to begin with, let us today begin with mean, median, mode. That's the first thing I want to do for the day. So beta, what you should be doing is you should start by understanding what is central tendency. सबसे पहले ये समझो कि central tendency क्या होती है. See, a lot of times we have huge distributions of data, huge amount of data. And we cannot go ahead and we cannot, always talk about the entire data set. ऐसा तो नहीं हो सकता ना कि जब भी आप मेरे से पूछो, okay, what are the marks of the students in your class? I start dictating. The first student scored this much, second this much, third this much, 10th this much. Now, that is very difficult. Similarly, it is very difficult to go ahead and to talk about, the income of every individual in the society. So a lot of times what we have to do is we have to condense huge amount of huge amount of uncondensed information into a condensed form of information. Hai na? And how do I condense the information? By finding out the average, by finding out the median, by finding out the mode. So the purpose of these measures is that there is huge amount of data set and I want to go ahead and I want to condense this data set in one number, right? So let us start by understanding this a bit. So please write down with me the purpose. I will give you some features also which are important of these measures is to condense huge, unwidely set of numerical data into single numerical value which represents entire data set. So I want to represent the entire data set by one representative value. Now, central tendency is used for a lot of purposes, right? So there are three main purposes of using central tendencies. The first purpose that you have is, as I mentioned, so its purpose. The first one is to describe distribution in concise manner. So if I want to go ahead and I want to write the entire distribution in one number, that is where it is going to help me. But suppose now I tell you that I have two sections of students and I want to go ahead and I want to compare these sections as to which section is performing well. What can I do? I can go ahead and I can do something which is known as a comparative study. So I can find out the average marks of the first section, the average marks of the second section, and then I can compare which section is performing well, right? So to compare different distributions also, the comparative, the central tendency becomes important. So second one is for comparative study of different distributions. Third, now just imagine, I not only want to go ahead and compare different distributions, I sometimes want to also understand more about the distribution. Like, for example, is it right skewed? Is it left skewed? What kind of distribution am I talking about? So for computing various other measures like skewness, like coefficient of variance. So you remember that in economics, we do something which is called risk. You know? Risk is basically understanding how risky a portfolio is. And to find the riskiness of a portfolio, you can clearly find covariance, coefficient of variance, right? So for computing other things also, like for example, to understand how skewed is my data set, for understanding the coefficient of variance, for all those purpose also, this is one thing that I need. So you can just say for computing other statistical measures. Like variance, skewness, etc. Now try and understand, you have to understand that beta, when I have to find the variance, उसके लिए भी मेरे को मीन की जरूरत तो पड़ेगी ही पड़ेगी, right? So central tendency will also become important when I have to go ahead and have to find the variance or skewness. Even then in their formulas, I would need mean or I will need median, right? Now, there are some prerequisites that you should have for central tendency. So please write down requisites of a good central tendency. So in mean median mode, what should be the factors that I should be looking for? Or supposedly tomorrow you go ahead and you make your own central tendency. आप एक formula के साथ आ जाओ कि मैम मेरे को लगता है कि central tendency ये एक central tendency हो सकती है. What are things that I will be looking out for in a good central tendency? That is what we are going to discuss. So the first one that we should be looking out for, beta, that it should be rigidly defined. By saying that it should be rigidly defined, what do I mean? I mean that it should be very clear and unambiguous. मतलब ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि अगर आप मुझे बोलो मीन निकालो तो कभी मैं समेशन x by n कर रही हूँ और कभी मैं समेशन x by x कर रही हूँ. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए. I should be very clear with what the definition is saying कि कैसे उसको define किया गया है, उसमें बहुत clarity होनी जरूरी है. So it should be rigidly defined. Any good central tendency. The second thing is that it should be easy to understand. So the formula should be such that it does not takes a lot of time to understand, a lot of time to calculate, and at the same time, when I interpret it, it should have some meaning. Just when I interpret mean, I know that it is talking about the average marks of students or average height of students or average income of the society. So I should be able to also interpret the central tendency. But the third one is that it should be based on all observations. This is a good property of central tendency. I will show you that among mean median mode, is this satisfied or not? But abhi ke liye important ye hai that it should be based on all observation. Ye important property hai. The fourth one, but it should be suitable for further mathematical theory. So एक अच्छा सेंट्रल टेंडेंसी वो है जो आगे भी किसी पर्पस में काम आ पाए. जैसे सेंट्रल टेंडेंसी, once you know how to find the mean, you can use mean to go ahead and find the variance. Once you know how to find the mean, you can use mean while hypothesis testing. So a good central tendency is such which is suitable for further mathematical or statistical theory. Fifth, it should be affected as little as possible by fluctuation of sampling. इसका क्या मतलब है? मतलब जैसे जैसे मैं सैंपल को फ्लक्चुएट करूं, as I fluctuate the sample, it should not be the case that this just keeps fluctuating. So just imagine, suppose beta I have a data set and the last income, I'm finding average income, and one of the income was 100. All incomes were between 60 to 100. Okay. Now all of a sudden, I changed the last income to 1000. So beta, when you will find the average, अब आप 100 की जगह 1000 add करोगे, your mean will be affected. So as you fluctuate your sample, the central tendency is getting affected. But what we are saying that as part of a good central tendency, your prerequisite is that it should be affected as little by sampling as possible. Okay, come to the sixth one. The sixth one is it should not be affected by extreme values. So beta, when I say it should not be affected by extreme values, मतलब extreme values को हम बोलते हैं outliers. So जो भी हमारी extreme values होती है, हमारे outliers होते हैं. Outlier मतलब जो data से बहुत अलग दिखते हैं. Like in one of the class, I told you the dot method. और जब हम वो dot method बना रहे थे, तो I showed you that there can be some values to the extreme, है ना? तो उन outliers से हमारी central tendency affect नहीं होनी चाहिए. That's also another property that we have. We will talk about it. Yes, beta, you're right. That fifth, so any central tendency, जो भी हमारे, whatever central tendencies I will teach you, it is not going to follow all 6. Okay? So we have to compromise a bit. So that way you're correct that even mean will not follow all 6. I will show you which properties mean follows. But as long as they're following most of them, we are okay and we will go ahead with that particular central tendency. Depending on my purpose. ठीक है? तो mean median mode का भी अपना अपना purpose है. So depending on purpose, I will go ahead with that particular central tendency. Okay, beta. So now in measures of central tendency, I'm going to go ahead in this sequence. We will talk about mean. In mean, we will also talk about arithmetic mean, geometric mean, and harmonic mean. Then beta, we will talk about median. And at last, we will talk about mode. So this is what I want to go ahead and cover from central tendency. In today's class, let us begin with mean. Okay, beta. तो मीन बहुत ही सिंपल है. हम मीन में जब जनरली बात करते हैं तो हम अरिथमेटिक मीन की बात करते हैं, एएम की बात करते हैं. So beta, mean is pretty simple. What are you doing? You are adding all the observations together and dividing by the number of the observations. So if x1, x2 till xn are your observations, then you can define x bar or arithmetic mean as summation x by n, right? Now, a lot of times, you will also be given some frequencies associated with the data. Just say, for example, what will happen? Like I will say that this is my x and this is my frequency. Just say, for example, let's say x is marks. So I can say that x1 marks are scored by F1 students. This I can say 10 marks are scored by 20 students. 12 marks are scored by 13 students, and so on. So I can be given some data of x's, and corresponding to that, I can be given some frequencies here, x1 till xn and f1 till fn. So beta, in this case, your arithmetic mean, this is going to be f1 x1 plus f2 x2 and so on till Fn xn upon F1 plus F2 till Fn. That is going to be your arithmetic mean. So that's the second formula that we have for mean. So the first one is if you're only given data set. So if you're only given data set, it is pretty simple. All of us are aware of it. So if I'm only given data set like 10, 12, 13, 14, and let's say 20, 25, 27, then the mean is simple. Mean will be 10 plus 12 plus 13 plus 14 plus 20 plus 25 plus 27 divided by the number of observations. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. That is mean. But if you are given frequency of each data point, then you will have F1 into X1 and divided by the total frequency that you will get from here, summation F. Now, suppose you're given continuous data. I will solve numericals in a while. Let's write down all the formulas. So let's say you're given continuous data. So in that case, what will happen? You're given some class intervals like lower class interval 1 to upper class interval 1, lower class interval 2 to upper, lower to upper, and so on till lower to upper. Lower and upper का क्या मतलब है? जैसे if I say 10 to 20, if I say 20 to 30, and so on. So beta, this becomes my lower and this becomes upper. This becomes lower and this becomes upper, and so on. And you're also given frequencies. So the frequency you're given is F1, F2, F3 till Fn. Now, in order to solve for the mean in the continuous data set, you have two methods. The first method is called the direct method. So what can we do in the direct method? In the direct method, you can step 1, find midpoint of interval. So you can just find the midpoint of the interval. Midpoint will be nothing but lower limit plus upper limit divided by 2. Now that midpoint will act as an X for you. And then you can just find the mean by doing X into F summed up by summation F. Right? Let's take an example. So suppose you're given a data set, beta. Let's again take marks here. So the marks given to you are 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 50, and 50 to 60, 60 to 70. These are the marks given to you. And you're given the number of students here. So the number of students given are 6, 5, 8, 15, 7, 6, and 3. So what did I tell you? What is the direct method? You will find the midpoint and call that as X. So beta, midpoint will be lower plus upper divided by 2. So 0 plus 10 is 10 divided by 2 is 5. So you will get 5, 15, 25, 35, 45, 55, and 65. This is your frequency. You will multiply frequency with X. So 5 into 6 will be 30. This will be 75. And keep doing this. This will be 200, 525, 315, 330, and 195. This will be F into X. Just add this together and you will get 1670. So simply your mean will be summation XF by summation F. And when you will do summation F, that means I'm adding this together. So I have got here 50. So this will be 1670 by 50 which will be 33.4 marks. So on an average, the students are scoring 33.4. ठीक है बेटा, ये आपका पहला मेथड हो गया, which is known as the direct method. But now the second method that you have, this is called as the step deviation method. So in the step deviation method, what you can do is you can go ahead and you can find mean by using the formula A plus F summation F into D by summation F. ठीक है? अब अच्छा इसको ना F मत लिखो, then it will be creating confusion for you. Let's write it as H. Now, beta D is the deviation, step deviation. And in order to find step deviation, you start by forming something which is known as assumed mean. So A, this is called as your assumed mean. So we assume some mean to begin with. And then we go ahead and we find deviation from each observation from the assumed mean. And then we divide it by the width of the class interval. So H is the width of class interval. Let us try to do the same question using step deviation and then things will seem easier. So beta, I am taking the same data set that I have. And then we will use the step deviation method. Okay, so now in order to go ahead and use the step deviation method, as I told you, you have to start by first finding the midpoint only. So beta midpoint nikal do. Midpoint will be between 0 to 10, 5, 15, 25, 35, 45, 55 and 65. अब इसमें से एक को assumed mean मानना है. Assumed mean ऐसा रखो जो पूरे ये जो मेरा midpoint का data set है, it's in between. So you know I can take 35 as the assumed mean. There are 3 values above, 3 below. So it acts as an average. मतलब ऐसा लग रहा है कि most probably average 35 marks ही रहे होंगे. So I have taken the average as 35. This is assumed for now. Okay, beta. Then find out D. So what is deviation? X minus A divided by H. So X is 5 minus 35. So minus 30. And the size of the class interval beta is 10. And the gap between 0 to 10 is 10. So beta, this will be 5 minus 35 divided by 10. That means minus 3. ऐसे ही if you solve, you will get minus 2, minus 1, 0, 1, 2 and 3. You can solve this. यहाँ पे भी देख लो. So ये क्या होगा यहाँ पर? This is 65 minus 35, which is 30, divided by the class interval, which is 10. So you will get 3. So now beta, once we have gone ahead and done that, just find F into D. Frequency into this deviation. So minus 3 into 6 is going to give me minus 18, then minus 10, minus 8, 0, 7, 12, and 9. And when you will add this together, you will get minus 8. So this is how I have gone ahead and found out F into D. ठीक है जी, अब formula में लगा दो. So beta, what is my mean? Mean is A plus H summation FD by summation F. So I had assumed my mean to be 35. The width of the class interval, ये H जो है, this is 10. Summation F into D I found out as minus 8. And the sum of the frequency is 50. So when you solve this, you will get exactly the same answer as 33.4. यही same आएगा. जो यहाँ पे है ना 33.4. You will get exactly that as your answer. ठीक है? So both methods can be used to find the mean value. Okay, beta, let's take some questions related to mean. So quickly we will do these questions. So write down the number Beta stats, if you do these questions that I give you in my assignments, then these are so intensive. I try and cover each type of question. You should be in a good position. So the numbers have frequency, and the frequency is given as x, x plus 2, x minus 3, and x plus 6. The arithmetic mean is given to you as 4.876. You have to find the value of x. Okay, beta. Let's start. So what is given to you? You are given the marks of the student, and the marks are given to you as 3.2, 5.8, 7.9, and 4.5. You are given the frequency, and the frequency is given as x, x plus 2, x minus 3, and x plus 6. So beta, mean already given hai. Mean is given as 4.876. So what will be your f into x? 3.2 into x, 5.8 into x plus 2. Keep finding this. 7.9 into x minus 3. 4.5 into x plus 6. So when you add this together, add kar lo, you will get 21.4x plus 14.9. So understand that summation fx is this. And summation f kya hoga? So x plus x plus x plus x, 4x. 6 plus 2, 8, minus 3, 5. So 4x plus 5. So summation of frequency is 4x plus 5. Summation of fx is this. So beta mean kya hai? Arithmetic mean. It is summation fx by summation x. And this is given to you as 4.876. Just equate kar do isko. So equate this to 21.4x plus 14.9 upon 4x plus 5. This is simple. You just have to find the value of x. So kuch bhi nahi hai. I will leave this up to you, beta. So just do 4.786, 4x plus 5. Can you quickly calculate this and tell me, please? I will also multiply this and check. Quickly, because this is decimals, quickly calculate this. 4.876 into 4. 19.504x plus into 5. 24.38 is equal to 24.1x plus 14.9. Anyone who has done this already? Minus 19.504. 1.896x. So 9.48 divided by 1.896. So I'm getting the x as 5. So your x value will be 5, right? So very simple. Sometimes they will simply give you the AM and they will ask you to find the value of x. Okay, beta, come to the next question.